bring in Peter King, Football Morning in America, and NBC sports columnist. Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Everything's going great, Dan. How about yourself?
We're great. You're back from vacation, ready to hit the road, covering training camp. The top headline today in the NFL, in your opinion, is what?
You know what'll happen with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to continue to be the top headline. He's due to report to Packers camp tomorrow, as all veteran players are. I don't assume he's going to report to camp, but who knows? He could make it like Brett Favre in 2008 when Favre said, I'm going to push their hand. I'm going to, and I'm going to put pressure on them. I'm going to report and make it hot on them. So you just don't know. There's a news blackout from all sides on it. It's very hard to get anybody to talk about it over the weekend, even on Deep Background. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, that you're trying to get information, and it's difficult to get any information because it feels like Aaron Rodgers is the person with all the information and nobody else has a take on it or willing to say something that might incite something here.
Yeah, I think it's Aaron Rodgers and his agent, David Dunn, who coincidentally was the agent for the last star quarterback who really fought his way out of a place, and that was Carson Palmer. A decade and a half ago, when he said, I'm not playing for the Bengals anymore, I'll retire. And look, Carson Palmer was not going to play for the Bengals anymore. But, he got fortunate at the trading deadline that year because the Raiders, remember that year, Jason Campbell was the Raiders quarterback. He got hurt. The Raiders desperately needed a quarterback. Al Davis said, we'll do whatever it takes to get Carson Palmer. It's a little bit different in this particular case because if you want to get Aaron Rodgers, you know that it's going to take about 2 or 3 times as much as it did to get Carson Palmer back in the day. And I just don't think as of this moment, as we sit here on July 26th, that the Packers still are even entertaining the thought of trading him. But if they do, as I wrote this morning, they must get 2021 value in return, which is why I proposed multiple first-round draft picks and something like Drew Lock and Jerry Jeudy from Denver for Aaron Rodgers. Most people would say, well, that's not enough. Well, you're not exactly in the best position to trade right now.
If you got a question for Rodgers and had that opportunity, what would you ask him?
What are you going to do? I mean, because look, Dan, the funny thing about all this is, Aaron went on with Kenny Mayne, what was it now, a couple of months ago, I guess. And he said, I love the fans. I love the team. I love the coaches. I love Jordan Love. I love the history. I love everything about Green Bay. Left unsaid was that he doesn't love Brian Gutekunst. And I guess he doesn't love Mark Murphy, the team president. So, honestly, my olive branch in this situation is basically Rodgers agreeing to play one more year with them, and then the Packers agreeing to trade him to one of 4 teams in the AFC after this that Rodgers could designate after this season, and then let's all move on to the next crisis of the day.
Tom Pelissero is reporting that the Texans are now willing to listen and have been for some time with offers for Deshaun Watson. But I'm just trying to figure out the bargaining power. Can I give you a lesser offer? You have that sense of uncertainty here with Deshaun Watson, Pete. How do you think this plays out with the Texans?
I just don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to trade him right now or to even entertain thoughts about trading him. Because unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles and say, we'll give you 3 ones and 2 players right now for a guy who probably isn't going to play the first half of this season, if he's going to play this season at all, you got to have full education about a player before you would consider trading for him, especially making a mega trade. What happens if this case drags on for months and months or maybe into next year? I mean, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles right now and Deshaun Watson is going to be traded and you find out that, say, the Carolina Panthers are going to trade the moon and the stars for him, I still wouldn't go nuts and trade for him. Because look, there's probably only a 15-20% chance that Jalen Hurts is good enough to be your long-term guy. We all know that, but they're giving him this year. And then they're going to have the opportunity maybe in next year to take a really good rookie quarterback who we don't know. A year ago, Zach Wilson was a total nobody, and he ends up being the second pick in the draft. So don't tell me that the quarterback crop next year stinks. I don't. First of all, I have no idea whether it stinks or not. They got to play this year. People will emerge. This is a bad time to trade Deshaun Watson and to trade for Deshaun Watson.
But the commissioner's exempt list, does that help the situation? Because Deshaun Watson's there, and I don't know if he's showing up. A, you don't want to be fined, but B, you sort of want to be a distraction, so they say, all right, we don't want you on the field. What do you think can happen with the commissioner's exempt list here?
Look, if he's put on the commissioner's exempt list, then obviously then he doesn't have to show up. He won't show up. Look, and it's also within the Texans' purview to have Deshaun Watson report, and for you to tell Watson, Nick Caserio, David Culley, to tell him, hey, just go home. We don't want you here. And, we're not going to fine you. And have him be one of the 90 men on the roster, but he's just not participating in practice. And so, look, it's a wide open field in Houston. I just think it makes no sense to trade him or to trade for him right now.
He's back from vacation. Peter King, Football Morning in America, column, and NBC Sports as well. Wednesday, you'll be in Nevada. Thursday with the Niners. Friday, the Cowboys. Saturday, the Rams. Which of those teams is most intriguing?
In my opinion, the Raiders. And look, the Niners are very, very close to them. But the Raiders, this is year 4 of John Gruden, Dan. He's 19-29. I mean, that's not what you're paying $10 million a year for. And so, at some point, the players who John Gruden and Mike Mayock have brought into the fold have to play better than 19-29. He knows that. They all know that. The 49ers really interest me just from the standpoint of, I think when I rated the teams 1-32, they're very, very high on my list. They're number 5. And my feeling about them is if they are relatively healthy on defense this year, I think they're going to be playing deep into January and maybe into February. So I really like those two teams just for the drama's sake. And obviously, wherever Jerry Jones is, wherever the Cowboys are, is going to be fun.
The Rams it's an interesting situation because you get Stafford, and now he gets talent around him. He's got a couple of marquee defensive players. You got pretty good offense, even though you lose Cam Akers. I wonder if the expectation level is getting a little too high, Pete, and we haven't even gotten started with Cam.
Look, I am the worst person to pick to predict futures bets and things like that. Like if you would ask me before the baseball season, bet on one thing this year, I would have taken the under on the Boston Red Sox victory, 78. I what are they doing, with the best record in the American League? I have no idea, but that's how much I know. But if you ask me this year, who would be your first quarterback in fantasy football this year? It'd be Matthew Stafford. And one of the reasons is what we saw the other day when Cam Akers got hurt. Now they're into the flotsam and jetsam area of their roster at running back. And I just think what's going to happen, I think Matthew Stafford will lead the NFL this year in passing yards and attempts. And so you heard it here first. He's going to throw for 5,000 yards. He's going to throw it 40 times a game. Go out and buy Matthew Stafford in your fantasy league.
Paulie, were we rolling on that so we can bring that back to Peter late in the season?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
What's that website where they bring back horrible
freezing cold takes?
Yeah, right. That'll be that one. When Matthew Stafford gets benched in week 11 because he's not playing well. Yeah.
Do you think expectation level? Well, I don't know what the Cowboys' expectation level is, but it feels like the Browns' expectation level is really, really high. Out of those two teams,
why wouldn't it be, Dan? Why wouldn't it be? They had the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City in the fourth quarter.
They had them
with the ability to drive down the field and go ahead. I mean, if Baker Mayfield, that would have been the Baker Mayfield moment. Okay. And they didn't do it. And again, everybody can say, well, Patrick Mahomes didn't play in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he didn't. But you know what? In the first three quarters, they didn't put the Cleveland Browns away. And in fact, the Cleveland Browns played the Chiefs tougher than the Buffalo Bills did last year. The Bills lost by 14 and 9 points in their two meetings. But, as I wrote today, I mean, tremendous optimism in both places, Buffalo and Cleveland. Dan, this is the first time since, in over 30 years that each team has been this good entering a season. And how about the last time that each team won a playoff game in a season like they did last year, 1964, when on back-to-back days in Cleveland and Buffalo, they won the AFL and NFL championship games. So I buy that both teams deserve to be hyped up pretty good.
What about Dallas?
I mean, I don't know. We talk about Dallas every year. I love Jerry Jones. He had a quote in his opening press conference about optimism that I thought was fantastic. Why be pessimistic? I'm optimistic every year because I see the glasses being half full. And you know what? If they get great play early on from Micah Parsons and a really good group of linebackers, I mean, they are as deep at linebacker as really as any team is, Dan. And if Micah Parsons is really good, they could have the ability to hold teams in the low 20s. If they do that, and Dak Prescott can play 17 games, then they're going to be pretty good. As of now, I give Washington the very slight edge in the division, but I could see Dallas winning 11 games.
Last call for Roethlisberger?
I would think, but look, he heeded the calls. He heeded his body's calls. When you saw the picture of him walking into training camp looking like Ben Roethlisberger 2008 instead of what he looked like last year, which was he just got too big last year. He looks good. And Dan, if you listen to him talk now, it's almost like the offensive coordinator is Matt Canada, this guy who nobody in America has ever heard of. But I would say Ben Roethlisberger, while not being co-coordinator, he's going to have a lot to say with what they run, how often they run it. And I think he's going to be at Matt Canada's side. And so this is going to be a Roethlisberger season. If the Steelers can have one last hurrah with Ben Roethlisberger, this is it. I just really wonder, with the offensive line, having lost the two gigantic members, three really if you count Villanueva, but you lose their best offensive lineman, David DeCastro, and you lose the center that was the leader not only of that line but of that team in Marquise Pouncey. I mean, is Ben going to be running for his life, or are they going to be solid up there? We'll see.
If the Rams win the Super Bowl, you're our first guest on that Monday. If the Rams miss the playoffs, you're our first guest on that Monday. We're going to
I got to be your first guest when Matthew Stafford is benched for John Doe in Week 11.
Thank you, Peter. Safe travels this week.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Dan. Have a good week.
That's Peter King. Working on a little sleep there. Football Morning in America. Pete will be on the road covering the Raiders on Wednesday, the Niners Thursday, Cowboys Friday, Saturday the Rams, and then he comes home and he writes his column.